I still remember the sound of her pen. That faint, steady scratch against paper.
We both
Precise,
know this
calm,
is where we
like
belong.
every stroke knew exactly where it was going. It made me nervous somehow, maybe because I never did. She sat by the window that night, glasses low on her nose, one ankle crossed neatly over the other. The desk lamp threw a soft golden circle around her, catching the faint silver in her hair. Her name was Elena, and she was my English tutor, though calling her that always felt too small. She didn't just teach me literature. She made silence feel like a sentence I hadn't finished yet. I was 22, trying to pull my grades back from the edge. She was 46, the kind of woman who spoke like she was remembering something, not just saying it. And for the past 6 months, our sessions had been routine. Until that night. It started with her correcting my essay. I'd written something about loneliness in Fitzgerald's novels. She leaned closer, reading the line out loud, her voice low and deliberate. Loneliness isn't the absence of people. It's the absence of being known. Then she looked up at me, and for a second, too long to ignore, she didn't look like a teacher. She looked like someone who understood. I smiled, half joking to break the tension. Guess that's something you know a thing or two about. Her pen froze. What makes you say that? I hadn't meant it to sound that personal, but something about her, the quiet, the control, made me curious in ways I didn't know how to explain. I don't know, I said. You just seem like someone who's learned to be okay being alone. She breathed out softly. Not quite a laugh, not quite a sigh. That's one way to put it. The air between us changed after that. Not in a dramatic way, just slower. She started tucking a strand of hair behind her ear more often. Her sentences came with pauses, tiny hesitations I hadn't noticed before. And I started noticing everything else. The faint scent of jasmine on her wrist when she leaned across the table. The way her eyes softened when she was thinking. That exact moment before she'd say something thoughtful. How her fingers brushed mine when she handed me a book, and neither of us said anything about it. Maybe it was all in my head. But that night, it didn't feel like it. When the lesson ended, she stood up and closed her notebook. You're improving, she said, her tone steady again. Keep this up and you'll pass without my help soon. I should have thanked her, packed up, and left. But instead I asked, would you still teach me? Even if I didn't need it? That made her look up. Her lips parted just slightly. Her eyes searched mine like she was trying to decide if I was joking. Then, softer, you'd be surprised how many people stop coming once they get what they need. I swallowed, suddenly aware of how close we were. Maybe I haven't figured out what I need yet. For a heartbeat, neither of us moved. Her hand was still on the table, open, relaxed. Mine rested inches away, close enough that I could feel the heat of her skin. And then, the doorbell rang. Loud, unexpected, cutting through the moment like a warning. Elena stepped back instantly, her breath catching. That'll be, she started but didn't finish. She didn't have to. The look in her eyes said enough. It wasn't fear. It was something she didn't want me to see. The sound of the doorbell still echoed in my chest long after the hallway went quiet. It was a delivery, nothing important. But whatever that moment between us had been, it was gone. After that night, I didn't see Elena for a week. She canceled our next session with a short message. Not feeling well. Let's reschedule next Monday. It wasn't like her. She'd never missed a lesson. And for some reason, her absence felt heavier than I wanted to admit. When I finally went back to her apartment, she looked different. Her hair was tied loosely, like she'd given up halfway through fixing it. The usual quiet precision in her space, the books aligned, the candles perfectly centered, had softened. I'm sorry about last week, she said, setting down a tray of tea. I had visitors. It got complicated. Complicated, I asked before I could stop myself. She smiled without humor. My ex-husband thinks time fixes everything. He was wrong before. He still is. Her tone was calm, but the silence after was sharp. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded, tracing the rim of my teacup. I didn't know you were married, I finally said. Was, she corrected. A long time ago. We just grew out of each other. Or maybe he grew tired of me growing slower than him. That line stuck with me, growing slower. Something about it sounded like a quiet apology to herself. As the lesson went on, she asked me to read a passage aloud. My voice shook a little, maybe from nerves, maybe from everything unsaid. She watched me with that steady gaze of hers, eyes soft but searching, like she was reading more than the words. When I stumbled on a line, she interrupted gently. Take your time. You rush when you think someone's judging you. Her words hit harder than they should have, because she was right. I always rushed. Through school, through people, through the parts of myself I didn't want anyone to see. But around her, slowing down felt dangerous, like the longer I stayed in her orbit, the less I could pretend it was just tutoring. I looked up. You really notice everything, don't you? Her smile wavered. Not everything, just the things I shouldn't. That silence again, the kind that hums between two people trying not to cross a line. Outside, rain began to fall, faint against the window. Elena got up to close it, and her hand brushed mine as she reached past the chair. Neither of us pulled away immediately. Her skin was warm, the kind of warmth that makes you aware of your own heartbeat. She froze, just for a second, then withdrew her hand. Sorry, she murmured, her voice a little lower now. I wanted to say it was fine, but the words didn't come. Instead, I just looked at her, the rain light touching the side of her face, her breath a little uneven. She met my eyes, and in that suspended second, everything felt fragile, like one wrong word could shatter it. Let's stop here for tonight, she whispered finally, though her voice betrayed her. You've done enough. I nodded, closing my notebook. But as I stood to leave, her hand brushed my sleeve, deliberate this time. Next Monday, she asked. Yeah, I said quietly. Same time. She smiled then, small but real, the kind that lingers even when you're walking away. And for the first time, I realized I didn't want her to just be my tutor anymore. It was supposed to be just another session. Notes, essays, quiet conversation, safe. But nothing about that night stayed safe for long. The moment I walked into her apartment, I knew something was off. The lights were dimmer than usual, and she wasn't wearing her glasses. Her hair fell loose over her shoulders, and she had that distracted look, the kind that meant her mind was somewhere else. Rough day? I asked. She hesitated before answering. My ex dropped by again. A pause, then with a half-laugh that didn't sound like one. Apparently, he still thinks he can fix things with flowers and small talk. There's a faint bouquet of lilies on the table. Beautiful, but wilting at the edges. I wanted to say something comforting, something adult and calm. Instead, I said, he shouldn't bother you like that. Her eyes flicked to mine, soft but unreadable. He doesn't bother me. Not really. Then she added, quieter, he just reminds me how long it's been since someone meant it. That silence again. Heavy. Real. I sat down, pretending to flip through my notes. You deserve someone who does. She smiled faintly. That's a dangerous thing to say, you know. Why? Because sometimes people mean it, and it still ruins everything. Halfway through the lesson, thunder rumbled outside. The rain came harder, and when lightning flashed, the power flickered. Once, twice, then the room went dark. Great, she muttered. Breaker's old. It'll come back soon. The only light came from the street lamp outside, spilling through the rain-streaked window. In the dimness, I could just make out her silhouette, still elegant close enough to touch. Guess we're taking a break, I said. She laughed quietly, a real one this time. Seems so. We sat there, listening to the rain. I don't know how long it was before she spoke again. You remind me of someone, she said softly. My son's friend. He used to visit after class. Same questions, same restlessness. That hit harder than it should have. Your son. She nodded. He's 23. Studies abroad now. So that was it. That's why this was wrong. I wasn't just her student. I was the age of someone she'd once raised. But when she turned to look at me, the warmth in her eyes wasn't motherly. It was something else. Something she was trying to hide, just like I was. Do you ever stop yourself from feeling something? I asked before I could stop myself. Her lips parted, a breath, not a word. Then, quietly, every day, the power flickered back on, light filling the space like it had caught us doing something we shouldn't. We both looked away instantly, pretending to be busy, pretending we hadn't just been that close. And then, a knock at the door. Firm, familiar. Elena froze. I saw the panic flash across her face before she composed herself. It's him, she whispered. My ex. He still has a key. She stood up, smoothing her blouse, trying to hide the tremor in her hands. Go to the study, please. Just stay quiet. I hesitated. Elena, please. So I did. From the half-open door, I could see her greeting him, her posture polite, her voice steady. But her fingers twisted the edge of her sleeve, betraying the calm. He stayed 5 minutes, maybe less, but it felt like hours. When he finally left, she leaned against the wall, eyes closed. I stepped out. You okay? She turned toward me, startled, then relieved. Her eyes were wet, though she wasn't crying. And before I could think, I reached out and touched her hand. Just once. She didn't pull away this time. For a moment, she just looked at me, all the restraint, all the walls she'd built flickering in her gaze. Then, barely above a whisper, you shouldn't be here right now. I know, I said, but neither of us moved. It had been 2 days since that night, the night she asked me to leave, the night she didn't pull her hand away. I hadn't slept much since. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her, standing in the doorway, her voice soft but trembling. You shouldn't be here right now. And yet I was. Her front door opened before I even knocked. She must have seen me through the window. Her expression was unreadable, half surprise, half something heavier. I thought we agreed. We didn't. I cut in. You said I shouldn't be here. You didn't say you didn't want me here. For a second, the only sound was the faint tick of the kitchen clock. Then she stepped back, letting me in. Her apartment felt smaller that night, maybe because of the tension hanging in the air. She wore a soft gray sweater, sleeves pushed up, no jewelry, nothing to hide behind. You shouldn't make things harder for yourself, she said finally. Harder? I laughed quietly, shaking my head. You think this is easy for me? She looked away. You're 22, Daniel. You'll meet people your age, people who won't make you question everything. I don't want people my age. Her jaw tightened. That's exactly why you should. The way she said it, almost pleading, made my chest tighten. I can't stop thinking about you, I said before I could stop myself. I've tried, Elena. I swear I've tried. But you're in everything. Every book, every quiet moment. You're just there. She froze. Her breath hitched just enough to make me regret saying it, and want to say more all at once. Don't, she whispered. Don't do that. Why not? I stepped closer. Because it's wrong? Because it scares you? Her eyes met mine, then sharp, alive, full of something raw. Yes, she said. Both. The rain started again, soft at first, then harder. Lightning flared through the window, catching the gold in her eyes. I've already hurt enough people by not knowing what I wanted, she said, her voice breaking slightly. I can't do that again. Not to you. You're not hurting me, I said, my voice low, steady. You're the first person who's ever really seen me. That made her flinch, like the words had hit something fragile inside her. Daniel. She said my name like it carried weight, like it scared her to let it leave her mouth. I took a small step closer. She didn't move back this time. Her fingers brushed against mine, then lingered, just long enough to turn the air electric. I don't know what this is, she said softly, but it's dangerous. Then tell me to stop. She looked at me, eyes shining, torn, wanting, and for one suspended second, I thought she would. But instead, her voice came out barely above a whisper. I can't. The silence between us pulsed like a heartbeat. I could feel her breath, warm against my neck. The distance between us was nothing now, a choice waiting to be made. And just as I leaned in, her phone rang. A shrill, sudden sound that snapped the moment in half. She stepped back, eyes wide, hand pressed to her chest. On the screen, a name flashed. Her son. Her phone lit up again, the name glowing in the dark. Ethan. Her son. I stepped back as she answered, her voice trembling. Hey, sweetheart. Yes, I can hear you. I try to turn away, give her privacy, but something in her tone made me freeze. Wait, what? You're back? When? A pause. Then, quieter. You're outside? Her eyes shot to mine wide, panicked. Daniel, you have to go. Now. What? He's here. My son. He just got back from London. He can't see you here. It didn't make sense. Why not? I'm your student. Her expression hardened. You don't understand. He knows you. He was the one who gave me your number. You're his friend, Daniel. The world tilted. I felt the air leave my chest like someone had punched me. I remember the night Ethan first mentioned her. My mom tutors part-time. She's brilliant, but kind of intense. I'd laughed it off. I never connected the dots. Until now. Elena. My voice cracked on her name. You knew. She looked wrecked. Not at first. When I realized, I tried to end it, but you kept showing up, and she stopped herself, pressing her palm to her forehead. God, I should have told you. The sound of footsteps echoed down the hallway, her son's. Panic flared in her eyes. Please, Daniel. You have to go. He can't, but it was too late. The door opened. Ethan stood there, damp from the rain, suitcase in hand, eyes darting between us. Daniel, he said, half laughing, confused. What the hell are you doing here? I froze, words scrambling in my head. I came for a session. She's been helping me with my final paper. He looked between us again, the silence stretching too long to make that believable. Elena forced a smile, stepping forward. He's right. He just dropped by to pick up his essay notes. But Ethan wasn't buying it. His gaze flicked to the untouched books, the way I couldn't meet his eyes. Elena, he said slowly. Not Mom. Elena. Something in his voice changed, disbelief sliding toward understanding. Then he laughed once, sharp, humorless. So that's what this is. Ethan, stop, she said. You're getting it wrong. He dropped his bag, voice rising. Am I? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like my friend is screwing around with my mother. The words hit like a slap. Elena flinched. I felt my stomach twist. Ethan, I tried. It's not like that. Then what is it? He snapped. You think she needs saving? You think you're special? His voice cracked mid-sentence, anger covering the hurt underneath. Elena stepped forward, trembling now. Enough. You don't get to talk to him like that. Her tone silenced him. For a moment, even he looked stunned. Then he shook his head, grabbed his bag, and stormed out, the door slamming so hard the frame shuddered. Elena just stood there, staring at the empty doorway. Her shoulders sank, and for the first time, she looked small. I've lost him again, she whispered. And it's my fault. I wanted to hold her, to say something that would make it okay. But all I could manage was the truth. No, I said quietly. It's ours. She turned to me then, eyes red, a tremor in her voice. So what do we do now? I looked at her, the woman who taught me everything about restraint, and realized we'd both just run out of it. The next morning, the rain had stopped, but her apartment still smelled like it. Damp air, cold tea, and regret that wouldn't fade. I hadn't left. I slept on the couch, half awake all night, listening to her pace the hallway like she was afraid the silence would collapse on her. When I finally got up, she was sitting by the window again, staring out at the gray sky. Her hair was tied back carelessly, her face pale from exhaustion. You should go, she said quietly, before I could speak. I know. Neither of us moved. The truth sat heavy between us. Her son's betrayal, our secret now dragged into the open, the damage already done. I finally said it out loud. He's not going to forgive me, is he? She turned toward me slowly, her eyes soft but steady. He'll forgive you before he forgives me. That hurt in a way I didn't expect. Because I'm young, I said. Because you're supposed to know better. She gave a faint, broken laugh. Exactly. I sat across from her, close enough to see the fine lines around her mouth, The kind time leaves behind when you've had to keep too much inside. Do you regret it? I asked. She hesitated. Do you want me to? I just want to know if it meant anything. That cracked something in her. She stood up, pacing again, hands trembling slightly. You think it didn't? She said, her voice rising for the first time. You think I risked my son, my reputation, everything for nothing? I didn't answer. She stopped in front of me, eyes shining, not from anger, but from something deeper, grief mixed with desire. I knew this couldn't last, she whispered. But you made me feel alive again, and I hate myself for it. I stood then, too, the space between us closing. Why hate yourself for something honest? Because honest doesn't always mean right. Her voice broke on the last word, and that was it. The thin line we'd both been pretending to respect vanished. I reached out, my hand brushing her cheek. She didn't move away. Her eyes closed, a tear slipping down before she could stop it. Daniel, she breathed, my name like a confession. If we keep going, we'll lose everything. Maybe, I said softly, or maybe we've already lost enough to start over. Her eyes opened then, searching, trembling, alive. For a heartbeat, the world narrowed to that single inch between us. All the guilt, the longing, the truth finally spilling out without words. And then she kissed me. Not desperate, not reckless, just real, like she'd stopped fighting for the first time. When we finally pulled apart, she leaned her forehead against mine and whispered, "We can't undo this." I don't want to. She smiled then, small, tired but beautiful. You'll understand one day. Love isn't always about keeping it. Sometimes it's about surviving it. Her hand lingered on my chest a second longer before she stepped back, her voice barely a whisper. Go. Before I changed my mind, I left without looking back. But as I walked out into the pale morning light, I realized something. Even if we never spoke again, she'd already changed everything. It's strange how time dulls some memories and sharpens others. It's been 3 years since I last saw her, yet I still remember the smell of her apartment, the way the afternoon light fell across her books, and how her voice softened when she said my name. Elena. I never called her Ms. Hartman again after that night. After I left, I thought it would destroy me. The guilt, the confusion, the ache of leaving something unfinished. But life has this way of pulling you forward even when your heart stays behind. I finished my degree, moved cities, found work. People came and went. But she stayed, quietly, in the corners of my mind where I didn't dare linger too long. And then, last week, I saw her again. It was at a small bookstore near the university. I was there for a meeting, distracted, until I caught the sound of a familiar laugh, soft, low, careful. When I turned, there she was standing by the classics section, flipping through a weathered copy of The Great Gatsby. For a second, I thought I imagined it. But she looked up and smiled. She hadn't changed much. Maybe a little grayer, maybe a little thinner. But her eyes still had that same quiet intelligence, the same calm that made everything around her slow down. Daniel, she said softly, almost like it hurt to say it. You look older. I laughed. So do you. We stood there, caught between awkwardness and nostalgia. There was no anger left, no guilt. Just a strange peace, like two people remembering a song they once danced to and realizing they still know the tune. I heard you're teaching now, she said. Creative writing? I nodded. You inspired that, you know. Her eyes softened. I didn't mean to. You never do, I said with a smile. We ended up sitting at the cafe next door, talking for an hour about books, work, her son, who'd moved back home and was finally happy again. She didn't mention what happened between us, and neither did I. We didn't need to. When we finished our coffee, I walked her to her car. The rain had started again, light and familiar, like the world was repeating an old scene just to see how it felt now. As she opened the door, she hesitated. I never thanked you, she said. For what? For reminding me what it felt like to be seen. She reached out, her hand finding mine for a moment. The same warmth, the same quiet electricity, but gentler this time. Not desire, just gratitude. And then she smiled, that same small, real smile I'd missed for years. Take care of yourself, Daniel. You too, Elena. She drove away, and I stood there watching until the taillights disappeared into the rain. It wasn't the ending I once wanted, but maybe it was the one we both needed. Not a promise, not a tragedy. Just understanding. Love, in its most honest form, doesn't always need forever. Sometimes it just needs to be remembered kindly. Did you enjoy the story? Would you want more slow burn, mature love stories like this? Or something completely different next time?